on? Is he far away? Microphone's here. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, I want to thank the Chamber and Bob Durkin for hosting us here today, and also for the support and all the efforts that we've made trying to move our city forward. I'd like to welcome and thank all the esteemed guests we have here today, my cabinet members, elected officials from City Council here. I see Wayne Evans and Pat Rogan over there. And all of you from the public that came out here today to hear what we have to say about our city. I think many of you in this room and those listening across the city would agree when I say this year has been the most significant year for our city in a generation. Why do I say that? Because today I'm proud to say that our city has finally turned a corner. Today our city is stable, our city is strong, and our city is moving forward. But this didn't just happen. We did it together. We did it as a community. We've made a new future for our city. Sure, it wasn't easy, and we're not done yet, but we're closer than ever before. Not only have we stabilized our budget and finances, but we've worked to make our city a destination. Last year, Scranton's population grew faster than any other city in northeastern Pennsylvania, faster than second largest, or second closest, which is Allentown, and faster than the city of Philadelphia. We have great new businesses opening up each and every month, from restaurants to medical offices. Our universities, colleges, and hospitals are expanding, offering more services to more people than ever before, and positioning themselves as leaders in the 21st century. As hopeful as we are today, let me remind you where we were just a little over 3 years ago. Our city was nearly bankrupt. Our city council meetings were being considered for reality TV. Our pension system was on the verge of financial failure, the most distressed in the state. Our parking system was in the middle of financial and physical collapse. Our sewer system had been hit with a $140 million mandate to clean up its operation. And we owed our police and fire unions tens of millions of dollars back then. We have been in a distressed city in Act 47 nearly since its inception, almost 25 years. Newspapers from the Scranton Times to the New York Times were writing about how our city's fate was sealed and how it would shortly be decided in bankruptcy, taking the control out of our hands and putting it in the hands of a federal judge. It was also just a little over 3 years ago when I decided to run for mayor. I told my wife, Kim, I needed to run because I just couldn't watch this happen any longer. I couldn't just watch the city I grew up in, the city that made me who I am today, the city I love fall apart like this. I wanted to run because I wanted to do something. Like all of you, I knew the situation the city was in, but I didn't appreciate it until I got sworn in as mayor. I remember sitting in my office with Henry Amoroso and hearing in painful detail just how much trouble we were in. The union judgment debt was 9% interest, our parking system was in receivership, our pensions were nearly broke, and we discussed the difficult steps that we would need to take to fix these problems. When you start to take a look at these problems, what they mean to the regular people and to business people, it means an environment where people don't want to move to, where people don't want to expand or start a business, and it starts to explain why we need to try to do whatever we could to fix these problems. So working with my administration, HGA Strategies, the Pennsylvania Economy League, and in partnership with City Council, we developed a plan to do something and tackle each problem head on. The Amoroso plan was released in July 2014, and the revised Act 47 recovery plan in early 2015. Now, they both were very comprehensive and detailed documents, but I can boil them down into 3 basic points. We needed to get the union judgment off our books. We needed to turn the parking authority from a liability into an asset, and we needed to stabilize our pensions for the sake of our retirees and taxpayers. And I'm proud to say that after 3 years of hard work, we have addressed each of these problems, and we have delivered a stable, fair, and comprehensive solution for each one. From a city that was on the brink of bankruptcy when I took office not even 3 years ago, Scranton is now poised to exit Act 47 after a quarter century in the program. So how did we do it? From the moment I walked in the door, the union judgment presented the single most immediate problem. Interest on the judgment was piling up at 6%. That was $100,000 a month we had to pay. And the banks wanted 12% interest to finance the back pay. And that just wasn't acceptable to me. What was acceptable to me was meaningful concessions from the unions, a fair interest rate from the banks, and real game-changing pension reforms. Meeting each of these requirements was an absolute and non-negotiable condition for my approval of this deal. And I can say that our deal met my requirements. I'm proud of the deal we fought for, and I'm proud of the deal we got. We can't forget how we got here. In late 2011, after nearly 10 years of litigation that went all the way up to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, the court ruled that the city unlawfully capped police and firefighter wages, and the city had to pay them back for wages they should have earned. A settlement was reached between the Doherty administration and the unions a year later, stating that the police and fire were owed $16 million, accounting for 5 years of lost wages, and retirees were owed $7.6 million. When I came into office, we could not negotiate the court-ordered judgment. It was a judgment we had to adhere to. Our job was to develop a strategy to pay it back and do it so responsibly. Sure, we owe the police and firefighters their pay, but we also owe the entire city a strong and steady budget, as well as meaningful pension reform. So we came to the unions with 3 conditions. We would not pay the full 6% interest rate for back pay. We would not pay unless a portion of the payment was an investment in the pension funds. And we would not pay without real pension reforms to ensure that this investment and any future one would be sound. After more than 2 years of hard work, culminating in 2 days of tough negotiations and mediation, we came out with a deal, a very good deal. First, the overall back pay was $30 million. I want to underline one thing. Had the previous administration paid the June 30th, 2013 deadline they committed to, the city would have saved $3.7 million. Second, we were able to negotiate out the interest payment to the retirees, saving the city $3.6 million. In addition, we negotiated the retirees' payment to be part of a deal, not out of the pension funds themselves, preventing what the fund's actuaries said would have been devastating to the pension plans. Third, $1.5 million was deposited in the police and fire pension funds. And as part of this deal, we negotiated game-changing pension reforms with the unions. With any deposit that goes into the pension, I have always emphasized that I need to have confidence that our investment will be secure. The city's pension funds will now be run by a recognized third-party administrator who will ensure that the pension funds are professionally managed and that all regular and disability pensions are only paid to the strict application of our laws, and that the pension system operates at the high standards expected by our retirees and taxpayers. In addition, every reform negotiated last year in the fire contract, which seeks to rein in costs for disabilities, we added to the police contract. While resolving the union judgment was the most pressing issue, out of all the problems my administration inherited, out of all the messes we had to clean up, the parking authority may have been the worst. Each year we had to budget $3 million to pay the parking authority's debt they should be paying, but they couldn't. With the restructuring, we saved at least $30 million in debt, and the average monthly parking rate is $5 lower than it was before our deal. On top of that, we were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees for the receiver's consultants, accountants, and lawyers. And these expenses didn't go towards making our parking system better. They just drained money out of the city. But our biggest achievement was cleaning up the legacy of the parking authority's default, which the city caused in 2012 by refusing to pay the parking authority debt, which the city legally guaranteed. The default lost us our credit rating. And until we started working to fixing all of this, it froze us out of credit markets entirely, or caused us to pay 7, 8, or 9% interest, even for the most routine of financing. Through an exhaustive process we began almost 2 years ago, we looked at dozens of options for the authority's restructuring and concluded that a concession lease deal with the nonprofit, the National Development Council, a leader in innovative economic development solutions, was the best option for the city. Basically, the concession lease deal model means that NDC will take over the day-to-day operation of the parking while the city will still retain ownership. We also will still maintain meaningful control over most of the parking critical decisions, and because they're not profit, any money that comes back after all the bills are paid will funnel back into the city. NDC will also thoroughly modernize the parking garages, introducing technology that makes parking experience much more pleasant, safe, and convenient. They will be cleaning up the garages, relighting them, things to that effect. Then we partnered with John Basilica, one of the many dynamic business people we have in our city, to maximize the economic development potential of this deal. Our partnership with John unifies the vast majority of the public parking in downtown Scranton and allows us to save one of the most critically important garages from a multi-million-dollar demolition. After receiving no interest in the Electric City Garage during the RFP process, we realized that if we had to bear the cost of repairing the garage on our own, it would have been more fiscally sensible to just demolish it. It would have made much sense to do that, but John and I felt strongly that finding a way to keep the garage operational was vital to the downtown development. So we made a deal to essentially split the cost of crucial repairs. But as severe and as pressing as the union judgment and the restructuring of the parking were, the biggest challenge to financial stability and a vibrant future for our city is our pension system, the most underfunded and distressed in the state. As many of you know, we plan to use a significant portion of the money from the sewer deal to ensure that we meet our mandatory obligation in every future budget, without forcing taxpayers to make up the difference. Let me be clear, we are not just writing a big check for the pension fund and moving on. Any deposit I make into the pension fund will come with certain conditions and controls attached to it, all in addition to the reforms we enacted as part of the judgment negotiations. Our goal is not to stabilize the pension just for now, but to make sure it stays stable for every retiree and taxpayer forever. We are making sure that we do not squander this opportunity and are working each day on a plan to invest the money as carefully and as efficiently as possible. While the majority of the money will likely be aimed at reducing the pension liability, a significant portion will be aimed at getting high interest rate debt lowered or off our books entirely. A smaller portion will be allocated towards critical capital projects that will help spur economic development. The sale of the Scranton Sewer Authority is a transformative deal. While we're happy that our partnership with the authority allows us to maximize the financial benefit to the city, the sale at the end of the day is really about ensuring the greatest long-term benefit for the ratepayers. The sale is the best way for our city to meet a $140 million federal environmental mandate while keeping the rates stable. The Sewer Authority has an outstanding record of service, but any assertion that it could have easily funded a $140 million tab for the federally mandated improvements is misguided and goes against the authority's own rate study, which projected. Gotta take a drink of this one. The authority's rate study projected 4.7% increase each and every year for decades. In our deal, Pennsylvania American Water guaranteed a 1.9% rate increase for 10 years. And this deal also protects the authority employees. Each and every employee will be offered a job by Pennsylvania American Water in Scranton, so long as they pass the pre-standard employment screening. And finally, Pennsylvania American Water will bring 100 new family-sustaining jobs to Scranton by the year 2020. sewer deal has been years in the making and was run by a team of locally and nationally recognized experts who helped the authority weigh the pros and cons of each and every option proposed by other public authorities and nearly every major water and sewer company operating in Pennsylvania. The sale model offered clear advantages and created the most value, allowing the authority to meet its financial needs and providing ratepayers with over $350 million in savings for the next 30 years, or approximately $7,500 per household. Now, many questions have been raised about what this means for stormwater. In short, it does not and could not have changed the city's stormwater obligation, and it helps the authority address its own stormwater obligation in the most efficient and most effective way possible. Now, indeed, the recent Pennsylvania Utility Commission order approving our deal 4-1 will also not impact the stormwater obligation and does not change what was laid out in the deal from the very beginning with regard to rate spread. Long speech. Scranton deals currently with stormwater in two ways. The vast majority of the stormwater flows through the sewer authority pipes and is combined with sewage. This is called wastewater. When we get a heavy rainfall, the extra stormwater causes wastewater to flow into the Lackawanna River. The $140 million remediation plan mandated by the federal government is meant to ensure less and less wastewater flows into the river. This is far and away the greatest stormwater obligation facing Scranton, and this deal meets that obligation. The city by law is entirely responsible for a separate stormwater system that is a fraction of the size of the authorities. The main difference is that sewage never enters this system, and so stormwater can safely be discharged in waterways with minimal treatment. Currently, the city and the sewer authority are both involved in maintaining the stormwater system, which costs each only an insignificant fraction of their budgets. Due to the increasing federal regulation of the separate system, the city will need to find new ways to meet the obligations, separate and apart from the sewer authority. Let me be clear, this deal would have happened, whether or not we did this deal. This would have happened whether or not we did this deal. I don't want you to misunderstand that. Stormwater is a complicated issue, but it is one we have carefully been addressing since the sewer deal was first considered. We've been engaged in conversations with agencies like PennVest, EPA, PADEP, the Pennsylvania Municipal League, as well as discussions with municipalities that have developed effective stormwater management strategies. My team and I have spent full days at the city of Lancaster and Hampton Township, both recognized as leaders in stormwater management, to learn more about their strategies and to tour their facilities. These conversations helped us craft an RFP for consulting services to make a detailed plan to meet the city's growing separate stormwater obligation. We were also awarded a state grant to fully fund this study. This study may recommend that a separate stormwater maintenance fee be funded by the city. Unlike other revenue sources, though, a stormwater fee would spread costs among homeowners, for-profit and not-for-profit businesses. We could look at our peer cities in Pennsylvania, such as Lancaster, which has an average stormwater fee for a single-family home between $4 and $12 a quarter. But I believe we have demonstrated and that we delivered on each of the plan's big three initiatives. You don't have to take my word for it. When I came into office, the city could barely get a simple loan from a local bank, let alone get the kind of interest we are now getting from some of the world's leading financial institutions, like Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo. In fact, they were so interested that our $35 million bond offering to clean up the parking authority's debt was 9 times oversubscribed. That means that the bonds we had available were 9 times short of what the demand was. In the past, we would have been lucky to find one interested buyer. Now they're coming to us. In fact, the interest rate we just negotiated is about half of what the last 2 bond series issued in 2012 and 2013 were. So while the parking authority default lost us our credit rating, Moody's called our restructuring of the parking authority a credit positive, citing the fact that it reduced our parking-related debt by 31%. While a lot of my day-to-day for these past 3 years has been focused on making sure we completed each of the 3 major financial recovery initiatives, I am incredibly proud of the exciting developments and accomplishments we've seen in our city these past 3 years. From a population growing faster than any of our peers in the Northeast, to an even more vibrant downtown, to pioneering new businesses like Net Driven, to game-changing developments like the Marketplace in Steamtown, to innovative partnerships like Geisinger and TCMC, to the continuing support of longtime pillars of the community like the University of Scranton, Allied Services, Lackawanna College, Marywood. Scranton is becoming a better place to live, play, and work every day. When I ran for office, one of the most common complaints I would hear were our streets. We have paved more streets than you have seen in the city in a generation. Take a look around. And we just closed a $4 million deal to totally revamp every single light, street lighting throughout the city of Scranton, using the savings from a more efficient lighting to pay for the upgrade at no cost to the taxpayers. Before I conclude, my wife is here today. I just want to thank her for tolerating me over these last 3 years. A lot of time, a lot of effort, but well worth it. Finally, I want to close by thanking someone who couldn't be here today. A dear friend of mine and a partner, former Council President Bob McGough. It's been almost a year since Bob passed. I wish he could be here today to see what we accomplished. Together from day one, Bob and I decided we needed to change the political culture if any of this was going to work. So we sat down and we worked hard. We needed to change it from a reality TV show. Bob would come and visit with me every Monday, and we would go over the issues. And even when it was becoming very, very difficult, when he was very sick, he somehow got there. While a lot of Bob's work helped lay the foundation for many of the specific initiatives we worked on, it really was the strong foundation he helped build for our city's culture that I believe will be his lasting legacy. A legacy that our council now honors in his partnership on all the efforts to move Scranton forward. So once again, let me thank you for coming here today, and thank all of you, especially my cabinet, for all the hard work. I know you'll hear it a lot of times, but it's true. They're overworked and underpaid. And I thank them for sticking by me. I'm sure many of them could have moved on to more lucrative deals, but they've hung in there, and I want to thank them for that. And I want to thank all of you for coming here today and taking time out of your busy day. So thank you, God bless you, God bless the city of Scranton. Thank you.